Yeah, I forgot to do that. Thank you. It's December 16th December 15th at 6 p.m. My name is Julie King, and I'm calling to order the Lake Mountain School District Board of Education. First up on our agenda, we have the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Becky Jones, and then I will share an inspirational thought. Okay, so the thought I wanted to share tonight is actually a quote from E.B. White, who is a children's author, famously wrote Charlotte's Web. Always be on the lookout for the presence of wonder. Okay, next up on our agenda, we have an innovation spotlight, and Board Member Isaacson, do you want to introduce our spotlight and kind of the concept that we're sharing tonight?
Yeah, thank you. We had an opportunity just a couple weeks ago to go visit a bunch of schools in the district. We tried to see all of the schools in the district, and that was maybe a little over ambitious. In the process of visiting the 20 or so schools that we did get into, the administrators that walked us through the schools and give us that quick tour, they would stop along the way and say, hey, I've got to tell you about this first grade teacher. Or, hey, I've got to tell you about the library staff and what they're doing here. Everyone had a different thing they wanted to spotlight, but we had this whirlwind tour and got to take in all these really amazing programs that were happening. And we want to share that, and we want to share it ongoing. The second thing, to kind of combine a couple of concepts, as board members, we've been talking about what's going to make our district unique, the identity and some of the core values that's going to form the priorities and who we are as a district. And one of the words that keeps coming up is innovation. So combining those two concepts, we are going to introduce a few minutes for some staff to come in at the beginning of our board meetings and do an innovation spotlight, a way for the staff themselves to be recognized and appreciated, but also then to share with us as board members and the community at large what they're doing, something new and different and cool, and share their success. So without further ado, Ben Everett, come on. Thanks.
So thank you for inviting me out tonight. So I'm at Frontier Middle School, and I'm currently a special ed teacher doing resource. And this is my first year at Frontier Middle School. And one of the things, so I've known Mr. Bakar for 14 years. I worked for him when he was at Willow Creek, his first year as a principal. But one of the things that really impresses me about him is he has these ideas that he wants to implement, and he has a reason behind it. And one of them, when I first heard about it, I was like, okay, whatever. And that was this idea of like a Fun Friday type activity. It's only about 25 minutes. And it's not every Friday, but it's a lot of Fridays. And his idea was that what we would do is he would have all the teachers come up with an activity that they'll do, and the kids get to kind of vote on where they want to go, and then they're placed in there. And just that alone, when you talk about the more than 1,000 kids, that's a huge burden just to figure out. But he said, the reason I want to do this is I want the kids to feel more connected to people outside of their just 8 or 10 teachers that they know. And being a resource teacher, I don't see a lot of kids. I mean, the group that I work with is, although a large group, it's not like a regular gen ed teacher. And so I was, and my classroom isn't really equipped to have a lot of kids, but I was doing my work in somebody else's classroom for this Fun Friday. I had a little kid in there, well, I say little, a young man in there who, came. He was doing the activities and all that kind of stuff. And we would talk and say hi and all that kind of stuff. And after 3 or 4 of these Fun Fridays, and we're talking like a month and a half's worth of time between that, all of a sudden at lunch he shows up in my classroom. Now my classroom's not the easiest to find, as some of you have been there and know. And so the fact that he had to find me, because he doesn't have me, he shows up and he says, Mr. Everett, can I stay in here? I need somewhere to do my homework, and I got to get it done. I need a little bit of help. And I think actually you guys met him. And in that few minutes that he was in there, he was doing work, he was getting a lot of work done. He finished quite a few assignments that he was missing. And then he was kind of packing up, and there was maybe 5 more minutes before the bell would ring. And I was talking to him, and he started sharing about his life. And it made me realize in that very moment that Mr. Baker's vision of giving kids more exposure to teachers that they wouldn't normally have, and giving them a place to feel comfortable, was seen right then and there in that moment. And I won't go into this kid's story, but just know that he doesn't have a great life at home, and he needed a place to sit. And he has shown up to my class a couple of times before school, after school, just to get work done. But really, in that moment, I texted Mr. Baker and I said, I get it now. I understand what you're doing. And Frontier, we're just trying to meet every kid where they are. And we have plenty, every school has plenty of stories. And every time you hear them, it makes you just feel a little bit, recognize the importance of what we're doing as teachers and what we're doing as a school and as a new district, how important we are to these kids, because we become that stabilizing force for them. And if I can just have one kid a year that I can help, it's worth that 20, 30 minutes, that extra work, the significant amount of time and energy that Mr. Baker put in for this. And in that moment, my entire attitude about it changed, because I realized we were helping that one kid. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you. That's awesome. We have actually 2 staff from Cedar Valley High School, if you guys would come up.
Thank you for having me. I'm Mr. Alex Robinson. I teach at Cedar Valley High School. I'm the unmanned aerial systems teacher. I also teach other things too, but that's the one I guess we're highlighting today. So I'm currently the only teacher that teaches unmanned aerial systems in Alpine. I think more joining, and I think some are trying this year, but one of the cool things we're doing is I'm the only teacher in Utah and a lot of other states that does drone shows. So we're actually teaching our students how to put on drone shows for different events. We did one for our homecoming show, and then we were going to try to do one for the city, but the weather was rough, and I was scared. But yeah, so the big thing with what we're doing is we're trying to open up spaces for just different, as the aviators, right? We're trying to open up different avenues for students. One of the things that I do is I'm actually teaching concurrent enrollment for the drone class as well. Part of that class, so you do get college credit for it. And then it actually gets you your Part 107 license if you want to, which I know I'm just saying some numbers, but what that is it's basically your license that says you can legally fly drones and make money doing it. Instead of just being a recreational pilot, you do have to have an actual license to make money doing drones. A lot of people don't know that, and you can actually get in a lot of trouble if you do try to make money with drones without the license.
But we have good airspace. You could talk about that for a second.
Yeah, yeah. One of the benefits of our school is because we are out here. We don't have a lot of restrictions in our airspace, so we can do a lot of fun things without getting into too much trouble with different. We have, and one of the fun things that we've been doing. I'm trying to actually add more classes. So I teach 2 right now, which is the concurrent enrollment class, and then I teach an advanced flight class as well. But that's the one we're trying to focus on, like teaching kids how to make the drone shows. We do indoor shows and outdoor shows, which,
Well, maybe we're not gonna show that, and that's okay. All right, won't work.
that's okay.
Yeah, if you could pull up Cedar Valley Instagram. You could pull that up, sorry.
Show you a short video of the drone show.
Looks like you're having the same issue that I'm having. Okay, well,
It's blocked by the city Wi-Fi.
oh, it's blocked. Okay, so,
But I guess one last thing to
Yeah.
add. So we do have 2 classes. I'm hoping to add some more classes next year. They have one where you build drones that the state has, so you would build them and design them. And then another one there's a capstone class for like students. I'm hoping that we'll eventually be able to have like its own pathway so that drones can be, like kids can go in and like just do drones basically.
which
So-
is a fantastic idea because the market for having a 107 license, we're seeing advertisements for pilots for 170,000 a year. Our kids could graduate with that 107 license and be immediately employable, which is huge. Plus, we have the drone thing out west, and we have some other military operations that contract with drone pilots. So it's the future, and it goes right along with being an aviator. It also accompanies very well with our private pilot and our associate's degree in aviation science. And that's the last thing I wanted to highlight. I made a video, but it's fine, we're not gonna post that right now. I posted rainbows and sunshine for Christmas instead, but in January, that will be going up. We have actually, anybody wanna take a guess? How many kids are on track to get their associate's degree in Julie, you can't, you know? How many of you have been in our commons? Okay, Melissa, you can't say anything either, because you know. You would think, and that would be how many? That would be awesome. 20 kids with a college degree at the same time as their high school degree, right? We hit 50 last year. How many do you think we have this year? On track. Julie, you can't say anything. That was the goal, but we're at 95. Like, that's so impressive. That's worth like $200,000. So, and we have kids in the trades that are doing some incredible things, and there's so much to highlight. I'm afraid by mentioning one, we're gonna forget others, but you could have us back every month and we'll wow you. Just saying, those kids are amazing. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Excuse me, Chair, sorry. I just want to remind everybody to make sure and speak into the microphone, otherwise those that are watching the video later won't be able to hear you.
Chair, I don't know what the protocol is, but I think both of these need a huge round of applause.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Courtney, for coming. We really appreciate you guys being here, helping kind of launch this inaugural idea, just to be able to highlight the phenomenal things that are happening in classrooms and our schools. Let us know if there's something we need to do to help get support at the state level to to get approval for that CTE pathway. So yeah, we're so appreciative of all the work that's done in our schools by our employees, and want to make sure that we're highlighting the people who boots are on the ground are doing the work. So thank you for taking the time to be here. We greatly appreciate it. Next up on our agenda is time for public comment. We have 2 individuals that have signed up for public comment. The first one is Becky Jones, and the second is Jill Jones. We now have up to 30 minutes set aside for public comment. This opportunity is allocated for patrons living within the Lake Mountain School District boundary. A sign-up sheet was available prior to this meeting, allowing up to 10 patrons the opportunity to speak. Those living outside of Lake Mountain and those who were unable to sign up before all slots were full can submit written comments at www.alpineschools.org/o/lake-mountain-district/page/board. I can't believe I actually read that out loud. As you are called up, please introduce yourself by stating your name. You'll be given up to 3 minutes to speak. While the board does not engage in a discussion during the public comment period, they may arrange to communicate with you later. Personnel issues are not appropriate discussion items for an open meeting environment. If you have a personnel concern, please put your concerns in writing and address it to the Board of Education. Becky, we'd love to hear from you.
Becky Jones. Today at lunch in the staff room, I found it almost humorous that most of the teachers I spoke to thought that we'd already made a decision that we were keeping the name Lake Mountain School District. They didn't realize that another decision, like the decision's being made. And so I just wanted to encourage you to keep that name. I know we have a middle school with that same name. However, I searched and searched for other ideas, and I'm curious to hear some of the innovative ideas that came up, but it really is what joins the communities here in the district. And whoever came up with the beautiful design of the book with the lake and the mountain, it is gorgeous, and I love what it represents. So I encourage, if we do, I mean, no matter what, I love that image for our school district. Something else that was on my mind is as principals are hired, I think it would be awesome to have a staff member who knows well the school and the culture there, so that we can match up some great individuals. I'm not sure, I don't actually know exactly how decisions are made for administrators, but I just thought that that might be a great idea in helping with that process. And then I also wanted to thank you are we making a decision on the calendar or whatever? I love that we have a minimal day going into Christmas break and that there's a work day afterwards. So if we can keep that moving forward, teachers really appreciate it. And I just want to thank you. After being here for your first 2 board meetings, just thank you for all your time and effort, for all that you're putting into it. We can see your heart and soul is into doing what is best for the community, best for teachers, best for students. And so thank you. Thank you for all you do. And Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Becky. Next up, we have Jill Jones.
Really, I just came here to observe, but I can say a few words, I guess. Hi, Melissa. Anyways, I got to meet all the different candidates in the farmers market mainly. And then over here at the clubhouse, I'm a delegate for this area here. And anyways, I was a substitute teacher for 33 years, 31 years in California. And I'm just observing now, but I would really like to know how close by where I live, because I live out by the fire station, the new one over here behind me. I would really like to know how this year and the following year they're going to pick substitute teachers close by. Because if I could go to some meetings and figure out how they pick their substitute teachers, that would be wonderful, because I just feel I would have a lot to give, having 33 years experience doing substitute teaching. So that was it, and if you can put me on some sort of list, you have my telephone number. I would like to know close by me how you do it, because when I first got here, I was with one agency that had me going everywhere. And so if I could just see that, how you do that and the process of that, that would be great. And I'm sorry for taking up the time here, but thank you.
Thanks, Jill. Appreciate that. We will try to follow up with you to get you the link to the ESS system for our substitutes.
That was the company that had me going everywhere. Just so you'll know, Maybe next year it might be broke up different, but oh my goodness. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jill. Okay, we have several discussion items on our agenda. First up, we have a policy about the naming of a school. First reading. Board Member Lincoln, do you want to present that?
Super excited to introduce this policy tonight. It just goes about how we will have a process of naming a school. Again, for those of you that are seeing our new policy format for the first time, we have a statement and then the definitions, the scope, what we're hoping to accomplish with it, any reference to state or federal code or USBE rule. Definitions, I always love to know exactly what we're talking about in a policy with the definitions. And then how we know if the policy is effective and how often we're going to evaluate it. So this one is a pretty basic policy. It does not have any procedures in it. It is just strictly a policy, so it's just what the board is saying. We're not having a superintendent weigh in on this because it's so straightforward. So there is, at this time, no procedures. And it just goes about how it's our authority, the committee that will be forming aim to name a school, the composition, their role, and then the role of the board. And I will entertain any comments at this point.
So the only comment I had specific to this one, I think, was just the inclusion of renaming schools. I know that that was probably included to be just all-inclusive of future things. And I know that in the past, Alpine School District has renamed a couple of schools, like Centennial when Hillcrest was closed. And then also Parkside from Suncrest. And I understand the reasoning for it. I don't know that I want to establish that as a practice. So, I mean, I guess that's my only feedback is, at this point is whether or not we should include that piece of it. But I understand that other board members may have a different perspective.
Is it a different process, whether you name or rename? And wouldn't the policy be the same process, but?
So the policy is generally the same. It's just, do we want to open the possibility of renaming? Is my only thought. I mean, the majority of our schools are 20 years old or less. And so do we want to, yeah, that was my only thought.
Question. I would love to see language involving students in the process. Maybe like the opportunity to include students when possible, maybe not always, but if there's an opportunity to have students involved, I'd like to have their voice on the committee.
Okay, seeing no other feedback, I just want to remind those that are in the public that if you have any comments, then you're welcome to reach out. This will be on our next agenda, so just shoot an email to me, and we'll see about incorporating the thoughts.
Okay, so next up for discussion, we have policy regarding school district foundation. This is the first reading associated with this policy. Board Member Lincoln.
Okay, again, this policy follows the same format, but this is really how we're going to establish a foundation that helps and supports the district and how they're going to work together, but be separate entities. So it lays out the scope and then the policy provisions. And then this one does have procedures. So again, just the separation policy is what the board says. Procedure is what the superintendent says. It's kind of the how they're going to do what the board asks them to do in the policy. And we'll go ahead and take some feedback on this one.
So I actually have obnoxious feedback about an obnoxious amount of feedback on this one, Joylyn. I apologize. Okay, so in the policy provisions, when it talks about the purpose and alignment in 1.2, it says foundation-supported initiatives must align with board goals and support measurable improvements in student opportunities, access, or outcomes. My concern with that one is that sometimes foundations will run programs that aren't necessarily attached to an improvement in a student opportunity, like, for example, Sub for Santa, There have been times where foundations have provided shoes for children, winter clothing. And so I'm just wondering if we could be a little bit more inclusive with that language so that we don't limit those opportunities. In the fundraising partnership section in 3.2, it says the foundation shall provide an updated list. I would just like clarity as to who that list is provided to, if that goes to the business administrator, the board, if it goes to schools. So just clarity on that one. And then in section 4.1 about the advertising partnerships, it talks about a direct financial benefit. So I'm wondering if this would apply to like things that are used on Peach Jar, or like nonprofit partners, like for example, the United Way. Sometimes we'll share information about Sub for Santa, and generally we are not receiving a direct financial benefit. So if there is, I guess, some exclusions for nonprofits that we can include in that. In 5.1, where it talks about educational purpose, just once again, if we can have some flexibility so that there may be times where we're collecting, for example, like food for the pantries, we're collecting toys for, like several of our schools are doing, like Holly Jolly Giving or, their Nights of Giving, that we just have some availability for other things to be supported by that. And then in 5.3, I think I know where this is going, where it talks about it can't benefit a specific student, meaning that like I can't donate money to the foundation saying this is for Charlie. But I also think that it could be read maybe about like how would that work with scholarships that benefit one student. So if we could just make sure that we have some clarity there that, obviously we do have students who are awarded individual scholarships, but not to be confused with this money is for Charlie's scholarship kind of a thing, if that makes sense. And then in 7.3, I told you this was going to be obnoxious. Okay, 7.3, it talks about we want to make sure that the foundation and district funds are not commingled. And I fully agree with that, but also there are times where historically the school board has taken out of their general budget the pay for the foundation director. And so that could be potentially considered as commingled funds. And so maybe it's something like, not applicable to salaries or benefits or something like that. And then one of the things that I didn't see in the policy, and I maybe just didn't notice it, who approves the board of directors? Does the Board of Education approve the board of directors? I know a lot of times we'll ask people from the community, and then I think it would also at the same time be good for us to have potentially one but not more than 2 members of the board serving on that committee, so that there can be somewhat of a level of oversight. So just understanding, does the Board of Education approve the board of director appointments, and are we putting 1 or up to 2 board members on that committee? And then in the next session about procedures, it is in 4.1 where it talks about donation approval. It says in the very first section, principals must approve donation requests before patrons are contacted. Just clarity about with who, whether that's through the business administrator, whether that's through the foundation director, but just clarity on that one. And when it talks about classroom and grade level donations in 4.2, it says teachers must clarify how the donations will be used. I think that's completely applicable when they're applying for grants and things, but I just want to make sure that we're not, sometimes things get lost and all of a sudden we're creating bureaucracy. I just want to make sure that there is a simple way for teachers just to say the robotics are going to be used for science. I don't necessarily need them to write a full-on grant application just to say, we're implementing this in our curriculum. I think that was all the things I had. Sorry.
I'm guessing you used some Alpine and maybe other district as a template for this. Can you tell us how maybe it deviates from those previous practices in important ways?
I pulled from quite a few, so to be able to say where I pulled from exactly is a little bit tricky. I pulled from Jordan Canyons, ours, I looked at Provo's. I kind of started just looking everywhere and then in just general practices for a foundation.
Yeah, I felt a little overwhelmed because I'm just not as familiar with the foundation and its functions in particular. I wonder if there's someone in one of those districts, a foundation director, or some board members that could also do a read-through and give you some feedback between now and the next board meeting.
Yeah, I also pulled a lot from Park Cities because they have one of the larger foundations, and they bring in a lot of money in and out of their foundation. So I relied heavily on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you think? Is there someone you could run it by?
Yep, will do.
Thank you.
Joylyn, on 5.3, when Julie was talking about individual student fees, I know there were several times when I worked in the schools that people wanted to come and help pay off lunch accounts, and that would be an individual student. Would this cover? I want to be able to make sure that could cover, because going through the foundation, you get the tax write-off, but then it benefits that individual child. So I'm whatever you need to.
I thought a lot about that too as I was writing it and trying to find the balance. I'm not sure I found it yet, but like, I don't think it's appropriate for me, instead of paying my students' lunch fees, to go in and pay the foundation, get a tax write-off, and then have that apply to their lunch fees. So that was my inner struggle, but I'll keep working on that one.
So the suggestion would be, if somebody wants to pay off a lunch fee, walk down to the cafeteria, give a check to the cafeteria and say, put it towards whoever, rather than go through the foundation.
I think we just need to set up some limitations on, if you're paying a lunch fee, that it can't be your own student's lunch fee. Because,
Oh, for foundation, gotcha.
yeah, see,
Yeah.
do you see where I'm going? Like,
Yeah,
because I
wonder-
had that thought, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna start paying my kid's lunch fee through the foundation, then I can just deduct, my kid brings her own lunch, so just a disclaimer, but making sure we get some wording on that.
Okay, any other feedback? Okay, we'll move on to the next one. The District Community Committee's first reading. I'm not commenting on this one, okay?
One thing that we as a board up here really want is community involvement. And so to tackle this policy at the very beginning was very important to us, so that we open up a pathway to immediately get people involved and to immediately get many people involved, not just the same 10 people. I guess I should say the same 10% that shows up and volunteers for everything. The hope is that as a community, we all rally and everybody lifts with their skill set and becomes involved with that. So that's kind of where this policy is coming from. Again, super excited just to get people in and volunteering, but also providing limitations that as somebody comes in as a committee, it isn't as in an advisory role. It's not handing them authority that has been vested in the board or vested in a superintendent. And then just how that communication is going to work.
I'm glad to see the students in here as appropriate. I just like to see the students included, so thank you.
I read the part about if you've served on a committee in the past, I think the wording is a year before you can serve on another committee, encouraging additional, spread of opportunities. I wonder if that's a little restrictive. And so, just for discussion, is 6 months still appropriate and accomplish what we want?
Yeah, we could look at a 6 month. Again, the really big rock I was trying to tackle on that was not having the same 10% always involved, not always having it be the school community council chair or the PTA chair, and having them have opportunities every time, but really allowing people to come and participate where they're at.
Could that possibly include a way of trying to involve others in the process, and maybe something like when other I don't have the wording right now, but like in terms of like trying to advertise and recruit as many as you can, and when that process doesn't work, or if it doesn't work, then having the alternative of letting people back in or something like that. Don't have the wording, haven't wordsmithed it, but like in terms of how can we keep those that want to get involved if others aren't stepping up. But we want them to, but like what's the way to word that nicely? I'm just spitballing right now, so.
So we probably could do something along the lines of like, I'm bad at writing code, like writing this as we talk, but something along the lines of like all avenues to solicit feedback or solicit committee members through, school newsletter, district, communication. If those, if no volunteers come forward, the board may appoint members who have served within the last year. I think there's something kind of there we can find.
And just kind of, do we want to stay with the year, or do we want to move it to 6 months?
I think I hear what Matt's saying. I think my preference is just to try the year. At least from my experience chatting with people want to be involved in helping participate in the district, whether it's in the naming process, in being part of committees, in I've had a lot of people reach out being involved in the superintendent searches, the BA searches. We've heard comment about being involved in principal searches. I think there's a high level of interest in being able to participate. And I think if we hit a point where maybe that participation starts to wane, I think we could evaluate. But I would hate to not involve as many people as want to participate. So, my preference would be able to stick with the year, but I also am fine with getting outvoted on that one too.
And just also for awareness for the public, these are district committees. This is not at your local school. So at your local school, if you have a whole bunch of time, decide to serve on the PTA committee and the school community council, and there's a special reading committee at your school. None of that is impacted by this policy. These are district-formed ad hoc committees.
Okay, any other discussion regarding policy? Okay, next up, we are going to tackle our action items. First up, we have minutes regarding our December 3rd, 2025 meeting. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from December 3rd, 2025.
I move to approve the minutes from December 3rd, 2025.
Okay, so we have a motion by Board Member Saucer. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Board Member Isaacson. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes with the motion by Board Member Saucer and the second by Board Member Isaacson, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That appears to pass unanimously. I just want to give a pause. Are we able to see Board Member Judkins vote by chance?
Hi, can you hear me?
Charity, would you like to vote?
Hi, yes, I said aye.
Oh, okay, thank you. I thought you said hi, and I was just like, hi, how are
Well,
you?
hi to you too.
We're getting this. Okay, so that passes unanimously. Next up, we have the official naming of the new district. Board Member Strong, this is your committee.
Yes, we have been busy at work, and we have a presentation for you tonight. So if the naming committee could come forward and introduce yourselves and do our presentation.
Buttons, cords. Okay, so just to introduce our committee is made up of school board members and parents and staff from some of the schools in the area, and this is our group that's presenting the options that we came up with. We took a look at the history of the name, and we really had a big discussion about what the importance is in naming a school district. That picking this name is something that should connect the community, that represents our values, gives us a strong identity, especially as far as student identity, and become something that students remember and students are proud of. We wanted to talk about that community aspect because we want this to be a name that's recognizable in the community and something that people who maybe don't have students are still drawn to be part of and to be supportive for. And we also talked a lot about the logistics of the name and how it impacts the communication capabilities, the websites, the email addresses, the logins, any mottos, any branding, and the messages that the school district may want to communicate. And so one of the things that came up is just the simplicity of something that's going to stand out, and having a domain name that was easy for employees to type in was something that was requested. This is a list of all the current Utah school districts. Most of them are based on the city or the county that they started in, with some exceptions for a few, and those usually have something to do with mountains or canyons or mining. So we put our creative hats on, and one of the things that happened was a public survey. This public survey was open between December 1st and December 12th, and this survey received 3,765 responses from inside and outside our community. There was strong support for keeping Lake Mountain School District as a name, but for those who were opposed to that, there were some actually really strong arguments for choosing a different name, and some really good ideas. A lot of feedback was given that the name of the school district shouldn't match the name of any of the schools within that district, as far as clarity in that school's identity and their ability to stand out, and also for both parts of the community to feel like they are part of the new name for the school district and have it not feel preferential to one side of the district over another. So we came up with some principles and some priorities. Our guiding principles. And several of these I've already mentioned, but deciding whether or not we wanted this name to fit into the pattern of schools and of mountains and canyons, whether we wanted to, how we wanted this name to feel in speaking other school district names. Is it going to stand on its own? Is it something that's going to have a strong reputation when we're talking about other school districts? And then finding something that's really timeless and inspiring and that people feel connected to.
We received, as Sarah had mentioned, we had about almost 3,800 entries. We wanted to mention some of the notable ones that we received that we did consider for a moment, and I think we wanted to show our community how great we are involved. We have a few lists here. 6-7 school district was considered. We are not going to do that. Hogwarts School District, I think we would run into copyright issues with that. Schooley Mixed School District was also a very popular one, or district face. Dinosaur River School District was my personal favorite that we received. That I think had, I don't know, it had some potential for it, I think. We wanted to also list the schools that we have within the district here. We have a hopefully comprehensive list. We went through it a couple times to make sure that we had everybody. We wanted to make sure that we did not, as Sarah said, double up if we could avoid it. We do have suggestions in here that have elements of these individual words that we have used, but we've combined them in different ways to make them separate, but still evoke the spirit of our community and of our area.
So the first of 4 names that we're going to present to you tonight is Cedar Springs School District. This is pulling from the Cedar Valley that many of our schools reside within, as well as the local hot springs. Kind of blending 2 different geographic landmarks that people are familiar with in our area. The only argument that we really had against this was if it were to draw any confusion with people from Cedar City or Cedar Hills, or Cedar City. I really think that this is a strong name because if you consider cedar trees, they're known for being really resilient and hardy trees. They have deep roots, and the natural springs are really something that can refer to, health, wellness, but warmth and life-giving waters. I think that it does a really good job of combining two elements of local identity and blending those in a way that doesn't put one side over another. I think that it gives room for Cedar Springs to be something that our community grows into, that grows with, and this was one of the top 2 names of the 4 that when we did a little vote as a committee.
One of the other names that we considered is Desert Ridge. In keeping with the guiding principles that we had established, this is a geographic name. Our area, we are close to the lake, but we are still a desert here, and a ridge also brings in our mountainous areas as well. As it is not the name of a specific city or area within our area, this will also be a uniting force to be able to have everybody involved in this process. While schools within the district use Desert and Ridge individually, this is it's separate, so it would be distinct enough from existing schools that I don't think it would cause that much of an issue. Based on the feedback from the survey results, Desert and Ridge were popular suggestions from the community in terms of what we could name it. It's simple, unique, and easy to remember. It lends itself well to logos, mottos, and inspiration, and it has aligned with many of our core guiding principles. There is a potential for confusion with spelling. Desert is a tricky word to spell sometimes with a confusion of dessert, how many S's it has, and also in our area we have Deseret as a popular name for a lot of things, so that might cause some confusion when it comes to domains or entering those in. We also received some feedback about the length of names for our school district, again in regards to domains and email addresses, things like that. Desert Ridge is 2 words. It's a little bit on the lengthier side, but I do think that this is another very strong consideration for the name.
All right, well, one of the options that we have is to keep the name Lake Mountain. This name was adopted by our interlocal city officials and representatives after our community voted to split from Alpine School District. It has served as a placeholder name for our new district as we've gotten the ball rolling and elected our new school board. So going forward, we have that option to turn that from a temporary name to a permanent name. As we compared the name Lake Mountain against the priorities and guiding principles that we talked about, there's some advantages and disadvantages to using the name of Lake Mountain. One of the biggest advantages, I feel like, is that this is already an established name. People are already associating our new district with Lake Mountain, and at this point, changing the name could be confusing. Also, it is the name of a mountain that runs along the lake, and our district wraps around it. So it is very visible, and everyone's kind of geographically connected to it. The name Lake Mountain follows the pattern of some of the other districts in our state of naming their district after a major geological feature. Some disadvantages to keeping the name Lake Mountain. First of all, a common complaint in the survey was there were a lot of people who didn't want to name the district after a current school. And we do have Lake Mountain Middle School that really likes their name. There is a concern that there's going to be some challenges that could arise from sharing a name between the middle school and the district. And there has been some talk that they would rather have a different name. If we choose to go with Lake Mountain, they would not like to share that name. Another disadvantage is that the Lake Mountains, they are a part of our community, but they also run in between our communities. So it could be seen as a divider more than a uniter. And also some of the feedback from the survey mentioned that the word lake felt more like a a Saratoga Springs word because we're connected more to the lake. And the Lake Mountain puts everyone else further away from the lake. So it didn't really represent the whole community from some of the survey results.
Okay, so my name is Lisa Ferry, and I've lived in Eagle Mountain for 15 years. I'm married to a spouse who has worked in Saratoga Springs for 20 years. I'm a parent of Lake Mountain Middle School and Saratoga Shores. I have students there. I also serve on the school community council at Lake Mountain Middle. This was a great opportunity to be part of this naming committee. So thank you for that. As we looked at naming the new district, I believe a name should have three things. It should honor our landscape, it should reflect our values, and stand the test of time. With that in mind, I'd like to present the name Sage School District. As a potential name for our new school district, which is tied to the #1 spot with Cedar Springs amongst the naming committee, even though it does not have a county or a city name, does not have a mountain, a lake, or a spring, the word sage carries a layered meaning that fits our area beautifully. First, it represents one of the most prominent plant species in our region. Sagebrush is a native to this land. It thrives here across Eagle Mountain, Saratoga, Cedar Fort, and Fairfield. Like sagebrush, sending deep roots into the ground to find water and creating nourishment and supporting the life around it, we hope that our students will be nourished and able to thrive with the support and guidance of our new district leaders, teachers, and parents. Next, sage also means wisdom. It represents thoughtful leadership, sound judgment, and learning guided by experience. Those are qualities we want to reflect in our new district. How decisions are made, how students are taught, and how communities are served. Sage is not flashy or trendy. It's a one-word name, short emails, and short websites, as you can see, which was requested by teacher and district employees who filled out the survey. It is easy to spell and is not to be confused with any other geographic areas or locations. It's calm, steady, and confident. It doesn't belong to just one city, and it doesn't limit us to a single direction or identity. Instead, it feels unifying, respectful, and rooted, while still leaving room for growth and excellence. At the time, Sage gives us the opportunity for a fresh start, a chance to rebrand, to align our vision, and to intentionally create something new together while still honoring what has become before us. In the time of change, a name Sage communicates balancing, honoring where we've come from while intentionally guiding us to where we're going. Sage School District is a name that reflects both the wisdom of our roots and the fresh start we are creating with our students' future. Sage School District, rooted in wisdom and built for the future. An acronym could be Students Achieving Growth in Education. On behalf of the naming committee shared with you the 4 proposed names, did I go too far? Which were Cedar Springs, Desert Ridge, Lake Mountain, and Sage. We have shared our pros and cons of the names, and we present it to you with our vision from the data that was gathered in our committee. Thank you.
Okay, if you guys will just stay up there because we might have some questions for you. As you can see, this is a hard decision. There are some really good, exciting things out there that we talked about and that we came up with, and we're really trying to listen to the comments that were made and bring to the table what would help. None of you told us how we came up with, are you making a recommendation?
Like one recommendation?
What did we come up with?
We tied. We had 8 people on the committee. You should do odd number committees in your proposal, because we were split 4 and 4. And I think we've continued our conversation since the meeting this weekend, in text messages and in building the presentation and making the presentation stronger. You did a fabulous job.
I'm passionate about the name.
I know. And the other thing that I would say is we all really leaned heavily into the feedback that was received in the survey about the school district not being named after one school. And I think that that's just really important. The unity that comes.
Because we feel so broad, right? Like, Our geographics, that's why I stated that I live in Eagle Mountain, but I take my kids to school in Saratoga Springs, is because their sagebrush is everywhere. It is. And, but we don't live on the leak. We don't have problems with mosquitoes in Eagle Mountain like Saratoga Springs do. They may have wind, but we've got really the wind out in Eagle Mountain. So there is as much common as there is diversity, and we really tried to come from a unity and a rebranding and a rebirth of really setting us up strong.
So, I just want to ask a quick question, sorry. I noticed that you guys talked about not wanting to use the school name, but there are two schools that, Sage Canyon and Sage Hills, and if you're a part of those communities, they usually shorten it and just call the school Sage. And then there's also, for us old timers, the SAGE test. So I'm just wondering, like I said, Sage Canyon, Sage Hills, a lot of times we do refer, like for people in those communities, refer to the school as Sage.
Yeah, and from a marketing and design standpoint, my background is in marketing and design, and as far as like color schemes and logos go, to me, Sage really leans into more of a medical branding. So that was one of the reasons I was voting for Cedar Springs. But again, as a committee, I think we had some really healthy conversations. I think that any of the 4 options that we've come up with can be successful.
Sage Canyon is in Eagle Mountain and Sage Hills is in Saratoga, whereas Lake Mountain is only in Saratoga Springs.
Okay, Lisa, we could go all night on this. I think that Lake Mountain is going to take Eagle Mountain students in a very short time.
What?
Middle school?
Because of like the boundary changes associated with the new high school, I think it's very likely that Eagle Mountain students will start attending Lake Mountain Middle School.
But we're living in the present and we're right now the decision. There's going to be a road that's going to join us through Lake Mountain eventually too, which, yeah. But Lake Mountain is really long. Sage is 4 words.
Okay, so I do want to just clarify something. Because I know this has been a question, the domain names, just to clarify for the public and for anyone else who's not aware, we have purchased the domain names of every option presented in the slide deck. So whether it's Lake Mountain, Desert Ridge, Sage, or Cedar Springs, those domains have already been purchased, and so that's not really an issue because they've already been purchased and we own them.
I just wanted to speak to what you had asked about the Sage being shorthand for Sage Hills and Sage Canyon. A lot of the names that we did come up with do have things in common with a lot of the names within this of schools within the district. So I think there's a chance that might be a hiccup regardless of the names that we choose. So I would say that they do shorten it to Sage. I do think that that is something that might be a commonality among all the names.
It just kind of shows that the nomenclature of the area has always been based on geography, because all of these names do exist with current schools that we have. Every single name is part of a current school we have or a very popular name around here. So it just kind of shows the context of what names have been in the area. So.
It's true, and the names chosen made it very difficult because you have chosen excellent names for all of these schools, and so you didn't leave us with very many words. We really wanted Desert Sky, but we put that down because it's.
We already took that one, Monica, I'm sorry.
I
know. Okay, any other discussion? Because if.
It should be noted that the committee showed great restraint not choosing Desert Springs. It is 6 and 7 letters.
And we did think of that.
Yeah, we did.
Paul, our other committee member who's not here tonight, he's the one that came up with that, and it was hilarious.
I think the kids are going to be very disappointed about it not being the 6-7 district, but I'm going to respect the committee's choices. Okay, so I will entertain a motion regarding the official name of the new district.
All right, I would like to make a motion that we delay the vote for 2 days until Wednesday, when we're going to have a meeting and make that study session part school board meeting so that we can address it in 2 days. And the reason for the delay is I would like to motion that we obtain more input from the community.
Okay, we have a motion by
Second.
Board
Sorry.
Member Strong and a second by Board Member Saucer. And I'm going to repeat the motion, Board Member Strong. What I heard is that you want to move this action item to Wednesday's agenda and to send out an email survey to our constituents for their feedback on these 4 names. Did I capture the motion correctly? No. Oh, okay, I didn't capture it correctly.
Yeah, all my motion said is I would like to delay it till Wednesday until we can poll the community. I didn't specify how we were going to poll this community.
Okay, is it
Because I
that?
think that needs some discussion.
Okay,
So I want to keep it at, we're just going to poll the community so we can pass that motion, hopefully.
okay, so we have a motion by Board Member Strong and a second by Board Member Saucer. Any discussion?
Yes. Okay, we met on Saturday and came up with all this, and there's been a lot of time, and I'm sure you guys have done some thinking, and I've done some thinking, and I feel like this is such a big decision that to do one more quick push with the community to get their input and what that looks like, I think we need to discuss. I have a suggestion in the discussion of how we could do that. But I think we need some more community input. And I would like us to consider, so in the 3,765, there was more than half, there was about 64% that said they wanted Lake Mountain, but it was deceiving because they said, yes, I want Lake Mountain, then in the comments said, but I really want it to be something else. So it was a little bit deceiving, but it was definitely a majority. So I think we need to have Lake Mountain on whatever we send to the community. Lake Mountain needs to be on there. And I would like to suggest possibly the 7 of us narrow the other 3 down to 1 and send out to the community 2 names, let them spend the next 36 hours or so voting, and then high vote wins.
Okay, so let me just make sure I understand it. So you want to, out of the 4 names, send forward Lake Mountain because it had a majority in the poll, and then we narrow down the 3 names to 1 other to send out to poll constituents about their feedback. That's your suggestion.
So we'll send to the community. So we will have the nice little work of narrowing it down to 1 out of the 3, but then to the community, we send 2 names and let them vote and see where the votes come in.
Okay.
There's other ways we could do it, but that's my suggestion. We could do it. Another suggestion would be is we do all 4 names. We could definitely do that, but I was just narrowing it down to make it a little easier.
I like the narrowing down to 2 names because then the results, it's a majority and it's really clear that way.
Madam President, also, I wanted to say, the one thing with the survey and how it was worded, from my best recollection, was it asked if you wanted to keep Lake Mountain. There was a yes or no, and then went on to ask for suggestions. So going into this, in my opinion, if we had any name recommended, and I know there wasn't a straight majority of a name recommendation, but in my head, if we weren't going with Lake Mountain tonight, we would have to send it back to the community because the rest of them would have no idea what these other options are. So I like the idea of taking it back to the community. My question for the committee, as well as any in the community here, is do you believe that 2 days or 48 hours, whatever the time period, is enough to get the feedback we need with this busy time period? Are we gonna get, do you think that you're gonna be comfortable with that? And the 2-part question of that is to the board as well, is if we narrow it down to whatever number we narrow it down, we need to be comfortable with accepting the majority opinion and be happy with what we send out, because if we send it out to the community and then go, oh no, I don't like any of these, or I don't like what the community said, just pick something else, it's pointless to do the survey again. So we need to be, there's the 2 parts of that. Is it okay for the time? as a board, we need to wrestle with whatever names we pick out. We're okay with whatever comes out, and we're fine with that.
So my comment to, when we sent out the first survey, more than half of those 3,700 came within the first 24 hours. So I think when people get that email, they'll go vote, especially if they know the deadline's tomorrow. And so I feel like our community will do that, and we are up against a deadline. We're supposed to have this decided before December 31 on, for technology reasons and stuff moving forward. And with this week being the last week of school and people disappear come Thursday, we feel like we need to get on it and move. But I think it's important enough that if we can make a big push for our community to be involved, I think that's important.
I also, after reviewing the survey results, it was really interesting because there were a lot of yes and then yes, but with like 3 or 4 names. I think there were other people who may have submitted more than once to provide a different submission for each name idea that they wanted to list. So I think if we are narrowing it down to 2 names, it's really important that this survey be clear that you are entering your name and your email address and where you live, because we did have people from Saratoga Springs, New York getting involved in our survey. So I think as long as it says, you know, this is my name, this is where I live, and this is my email address, and I only get to vote 1 time, I think that's an important part of making sure that this poll is reflective of all of that.
For my part, I am fine just letting this final vote be the deciding factor. So you asked that question. Absolutely. If we're going to send this out again, let the community speak and they choose.
Do you have a preferences to 2 names versus all 4? Sorry, I can retract my question. Yeah,
It is a question. It's something we're going to have to decide.
I do have a preference, but it's really hard. This is one of those things where we keep saying, like, amongst board members, we chat back and forth over the last couple of weeks. It's like, we need a name, and we need to, like, get on with the work of the board. So, like, whatever it is. And then everyone has really strong feelings anyway. And I fall into that category. Yeah, my preference is Sage.
Okay, so I guess, do we want, Board Member Strong, do you want to just vote on moving the action item to Wednesday? Because that's what the action item we have currently, is that we move the item action to Wednesday and we send out a poll. That is the motion that I have on the floor. So unless there's any further discussion, I'm going to call for a vote on that motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a point of clarity. If after we have that motion and we assume it passes, do we then get to weigh in whether we send 2 or 4?
Perhaps I might make another motion.
I think that needs to be a separate motion. Okay, so we have a motion by Board Member Strong and a second by Board Member Saucer that we are going to move naming of the district to our Wednesday meeting and that we will send out a poll. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Okay, and we captured Board Member Judkins on that she was supportive. Any opposed? Okay, that appears to pass unanimously. I will entertain an additional motion.
I move that we send a poll to the communities, asking them to pick the name of our new district, choosing between Lake Mountain and Sage.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Board Member Isaacson and a second by Board Member Lincoln to send a poll to the community between the names Lake Mountain and Sage as the school district names. Did I capture that motion correctly? Okay. Any discussion?
I was going to let Matt go, but he's not going. I would be happy with any of the 4 names as I thought about it. Any of the 4 would be fine. But as I have narrowed down and come to it, I think Sage is a good option to put with Lake Mountain as we send it out to our community and they choose between those 2.
Madam President, you mentioned that all of these names have been saved and have been purchased for web domain, because I know there's a lot of questions in terms of like the length, what it will look like, will it cost more depending on the size? Is there any difference amongst them in terms of a cost or a feasibility from the technology standpoint, if that makes sense?
I am not a technology person.
Do we have someone who is?
I bought the domain names and they all have to be .orgs. And they all are reflective of what was in the slides, the suggestions that were in the slides. So sagesd.org has been purchased, LM District, LM Schools, lakemtsd.org, those have all been purchased.
I just wanted to say I really love all 4 names, but the dyslexic brain of mine is really glad that would love to stay away from the desert name because I still struggle with the number of S's.
Board Member Judkins, please go ahead.
Thank you. I hope you can hear and understand me. I just wanted to reiterate that I do think an excellent job was done with all 4 names, and I think we cannot go wrong with any of them. I do support carrying through to the survey out to the community, Lake Mountain and Sage, for a couple of reasons. I think it checks the most numbers of boxes for what the community has given in feedback. And so I think that I want to let them lead and support what the community wants. And so I just wanted to let everybody know that I appreciate the work that's been done and the great work in presenting these 4 names to us.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, seeing none. Oh, sorry.
One other thing, Lake Mountain has grown on me, even though it seems generic and kind of matches the nomenclature. However, Sage is growing on me as well. My only concern with Sage is I feel like it's very generic to anything west of the Mississippi, because sagebrush grows all over the mountain west. So that's my concern. I do like the significance of sage and everything. It's growing on me and it's taking time, but I just think that's my one concern, is it seems more generic than Lake Mountain, since it's a specific geographical whatever the word is, geographic region here, if that makes sense.
So just for reference, for any of you that are not Utah State Aggies, they have a song about the Scotsman and that Utah is where the sagebrush grows. So maybe we need a USU extension in Sage School District.
Sarah, that would be a separate motion, but thank you for that feedback.
Can I make one more comment?
Yes, go ahead, Charity.
Thanks. And again, I say I'm supporting Sage and Lake Mountain, although I'm really bummed since I was the one that put together the logo with the lake and the mountain. If we don't move forward with Lake Mountain, I still support it and appreciate the work that was done.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion by Board Member Isaacson and a second by Board Member Lincoln to put forward a poll to the community between the 2 names, Lake Mountain and Sage, as the new school district name. All in favor of this motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that appears to pass unanimously. So basically it's dun dun dun, like Wednesday, guys. So thank you so much for all of your amazing work. We greatly appreciate it. And we will work with staff to get that out to the community.
Can I just say this picture was taken 2 miles from here, so it does represent our area.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, next up on our agenda, we have action items regarding the tax increment financing project agreements. This will be the second reading. Board Member Lincoln.
So I took all of the feedback that was given when it was presented as its first reading, the new policy. We strengthened the language that states that the trigger must be within 3 years, so we don't have somebody coming back to ask for an agreement 10 years after they've just let it sit, that if somebody is going to ask for some tax increment financing, that they need to be prepared to act on it right away, that we're not just gonna sit forever trying to help build a community economically while our primary focus is education. The second, we added Wage and employment standards, again, we had talked about having a solar farm, and the benefits of having a solar farm in tax increment financing is it's not housing. We don't have to educate any of the poles in a solar farm, so that's a benefit to the district, but they don't typically bring in high creating jobs, so we just fixed that language. We added collaboration with board leadership, strengthening the negotiation between the superintendent and consulting with the board, that it's not done in a silo, it's done in a collaborative atmosphere. And then clarified that the board authorizes payment for a TIF analysis for up to 3, but if there's no cost, we could potentially do more.
Did you by chance get my email about the addition of caps today?
Possibly, but I did not review it.
Okay, I can find it. Basically, it just says that caps shall be applied per phase to state the maximum amount that the district will participate in for each phase, so that we've built in caps for every project and for every phase of the project.
So that's really important that we have that very specifically spelled out. My recommendation then at that point would be that we just bring this back on our next meeting. There's no urgency to have it passed in December, and I would rather have clean than amend at the table.
Okay, so we've got support to just move on, right? Okay, next up, and we can put that, do we want to put that on the Wednesday agenda, or do we want to push that to January?
I think we just push it to January, since we're getting close to 24 hours and having to redo additional documents.
Next up, policy, the school calendar, second reading. Board Member Lincoln.
Okay, this one again took the feedback from our first reading. We added a definition of superintendent to clearly identify superintendent or his designate, or his ability to delegate, so they can delegate. That definition will also be used in all policies moving forward, so that will become a standard definition in policy. We added a definition for minimal day to make sure that we distinguish it between a early out day and a minimal day that was referenced during public comments of loving the minimal day before Christmas. And then we corrected the numbers in the numbering system. I guess I have, I can't think of it, numerous, not just dyslexia, but trouble with numbers as well.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion regarding the policy for school calendars.
I move that, it feels weird to move on my own work.
I can do it. I move that we adopt the school calendar policy.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Board Member Isaacson and a second by Board Member Saucer to approve the school calendar policy. Any discussion?
Just one question. I think I read the updated language, and just making sure I understand it correctly, there is allowance now to make, like, let's say in our next action, we adopt the upcoming school policy for the next 3 years. There's allowance for us to say deviate in year 2.5 or that third year and have 2 concurrently adopted calendars. Is that the way you'd say that?
I'm not sure you can have 2 concurrently adopted calendars.
Two calendar, you're right.
But you could come back and amend a calendar.
An amended calendar that, and if I understand that's actually different than how the policy allows.
Right, there's nothing in this policy that prohibits an amendment at a future date to a calendar.
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion by Board Member Isaacson and a second by Board Member Saucer to approve the school calendar policy. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Okay, that appears to pass unanimously. Next up on the agenda, We have the district calendars for 27 through 28, 28 through 29, and 29 through 2030. A reminder to the board members that this was something that was set by the Alpine School District School Board. The recommendation was for the new districts to adopt these calendars so that there was a level of ability for teachers to cross-collaborate across districts, because they would be, the calendars would be aligned and they would have the same professional development days, allowing larger professional learning communities to exist and supporting teachers in pursuing that. So that was some of the reasoning attached to that. Do we have a motion regarding the district calendars for 28, 29, and 2030?
I move that we approve the district calendars for 2027 through 2028, the 28-29 calendar, and the 2029-2030 school calendar.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Board Member Lincoln and a second by Board Member Saucer. Any discussion?
I just wanted to speak to this. I served on the district calendar committee when we reviewed these. The 27-28 calendar is a really nice one. Christmas falls at this really nice time. It allows for really just nice layout. It allows for the term to end exactly at the break. You don't have to adjust anything. We really took into account professional development days or comp days at the end of a term for our secondary teachers, so they would have a data grade, or also having it in the same week as our elementary teachers for parent-teacher conference. It just checked all of the boxes. It was really just a fun one to do. That was not the experience with the 28-29, the 29-30 calendars. Christmas lies really funky, and so you had to just really start to adjust. We spent a lot of time as a committee. We had representatives from all three districts at a principal, secondary principal, an elementary principal, an elementary teacher, a secondary teacher. We had students on our committee. We really wrestled with the calendars and trying to create the best calendar with the situation that was derived. We had sent out a survey ahead of time and looked at the data. We looked at the data across all three districts. Surprisingly, it was the same. The priorities just were in alignment, and these were the best calendars that could be developed. Do they check every box? No. Are there teachers that are going to be frustrated that maybe a professional development day or a comp day isn't after parent-teacher conferences? Potentially. Are there teachers that are going to be frustrated that at the end of the term they don't have a grading date? Potentially. But as we dug into the data, there wasn't anywhere else to adjust without starting like on September or August 6th, and nobody wants to start school on August 6th.
So one, I like what we just passed this previous policy, saying that we can have some wiggle room. And I know the importance of talking to teachers about having the time for professional development and have those plans. I also know the importance as a family as trying to plan to have the calendars planned ahead of time. That's important too. But I also want us to be able to weigh the balance as we're talking about innovation and we're talking about creating a new district and embracing what wants to be done by the teachers out here and the parents out here, is how can we balance that with planning and preparation and innovation at the same time. So I like what is proposed now, especially for the first year and a half or so, but let's see what we can, if there's anything that we want to tweak as we go through. I like the ability that we have in the policy that we just passed to make those changes considering our community. So I like it as it is right now, but I also want to say we do have the ability to make changes with that policy we passed, but also keeping in mind that we need to be planning with preparation to allow the time for everyone to make those plans. There's no reason we can't do PLCs innovatively differently than they're being done now. There's ways to think about that and still involve everyone. So that's kind of what I wanted to say.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion by Board Member Lincoln and a second by Board Member Saucer to approve the district calendars for the school years 27-28, 28-29, and 29-30. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that appears to pass unanimously. Next up, we are on to our reports. We're actually going to delay the report on the foundation You need two things to create a foundation. One's an address, and we have that, and the second one's a name, which we don't have yet. So we're gonna shift that one to January, because we are committed to having a name in like 48 hours. So next up, there's time for board member reports if board members want to share out.
I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that gave feedback, both on the calendar when that survey was sent out earlier in the year and the naming committee. I just think that's a really cool place to be starting a district, is having lots of feedback and lots of people participating. And I am just really excited to continue having that momentum move forward.
Okay, so we do have need of a closed session. So we need a motion to enter into a closed session to discuss issues of litigation, acquisition, and personnel issues. Does someone want a motion for us to move into a closed session?
I move to enter a closed session per Utah Code 52-4-205 to discuss litigation matters, acquisition of real property, or authorized personnel issues.
And then do we have a second for that?
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion by Board Member Lincoln and a second by Board Member Strong. We need to take a roll call vote. So Board Member Strong.
Aye.
Board Member Isaacson.
Aye.
Board Member King, aye. Board Member Lincoln.
Aye.
Board Member Saucer. Board Member Myers. Board Member Judkins.
Aye.
Okay, we are now adjourning our meeting and moving into closed session. Thank you.